shortly. Our next guest is in the commentary box here. Dale Thomas, of course, is out of the Collingwood side today and joins us. Welcome to you, Tomo.
G'day, guys. How are you all?
Very good. You've got a bit of growth happening with the sort of the beard, and you've got the hair happening, which hasn't been combed for some time, I noticed. What's going on?
24 years to grow a beard, mate, so I'm finally starting to run with it.
Daisy, are you feeling guilty?
I don't know about guilty. I think last week I felt a bit guilty watching the boys. It's never nice to watch your team lose, and especially when you're fit and you probably could play if you're allowed to. So in that regard, I felt a little bit guilty, and I was probably more disappointed.
It's difficult to be retrospective because we all do things differently a second time around. But your thought patterns when you were in Perth in the Freo game was early in the game. Was there something that was irritating you, or something that had happened? No,
I just thought it was a chance to lay a bump. So, as we all know now, that if you leave the ground, you pay the price. And unfortunately, I don't know how you really bump side on at speed without leaving the ground, but I did that, and 2 weeks is my penalty, and I'll pay that.
It's funny. Leaving the ground's not relevant, mate. That's where you hit him.
Well, depends who you ask.
Is that something you talk about now as a team, like bumping as opposed to just tackling? Because it is very hard when you go in and bump to not get that ricochet and make contact to the head. Like, it's almost something that's dangerous to even attempt now, isn't it?
It certainly is, and I think as you see games go on, the bump will soon become a non-existent part of football. It's been around for however long, but I think the risk you run to lay a bump as opposed to a tackle, although unless you lay a sling tackle, but in that regard, the bump will be non-existent.
Your confidence today in watching Heath Shaw, you like all of us, we're sitting on the edge of our seats to wonder how a guy, 7 or 8 weeks off, bit of Arizona stuff in the middle, bit of motivation because he feels he's let the team down, all of that sort of stuff. Are you absolutely positive in your own mind that he's going to be of really good value to the side today?
Yeah, no doubt, and excited for Heath, obviously. I'm serving 2 weeks and he served 8. So for him, he's one of those blokes that just wants to play footy. He's like a little kid, and for him to do his time and the way he's done everything to the letter, and hopefully today he can get out there and play a big part in what will hopefully be a good win.
By the way, the AFL Players Association MVP. You guys have failed to nominate Dane Swan as of course he's the past winner. He had a chance to go back to back. Players didn't nominate him. Tomo, who'd you vote for?
I voted for him.
You voted for him, of course you did.
He got one vote.
Well, from me, anyway.
Who were the nominations from Collingwood?
I think
Reid,
Pendlebury, Reid.
It's Cloak, Pendlebury, and
you,
maybe Dale.
Tomo.
Yeah,
it's hard to fit them all in.
You can only nominate 3, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Tomo, you voted for yourself, didn't you? Can I just ask what happens with the suspension? What's the first thing Mick Malthouse says to you when he knows you're going to be out?
Well, the first words probably aren't fit for radio, but he was obviously disappointed. But he then overcomes that and says, "Well, get yourself right, do everything you can, probably similar to the Heath, get yourself as fit as you can be, and try and find some sort of positive out of it."
Dale, today you're playing against a team that have got 2 really good ruckmen. In terms of the ground level players, you got beaten badly in the hit-out in round 10, but the clearances were about the same. Is that where you're just planning for your ground level players to virtually watch the Eagles' ruckman's hand and to try and work from there?
Yeah, well, I think we need our ruckman to obviously give it a really good contest, and then to try and nullify where they can put the ball, because if there's no contest, they can put it wherever they want. And when you got Cox and Nui doing that, it's really good to watch. But when you're out there opposing them, you don't want that at all. So for Joels, he'll have his hands full in there, but I'm sure he'll be able to give a good account of himself, and as will the rest of the midfield.
What about your backline today, Daisy? You've Ben Reid not playing. How's it going to go? Who's going to be thrown in there and given extra responsibility in his role?
Well, he hasn't played on anyone for about the last 8 weeks, so I'm sure Maxie will come straight back in and put his hand up for that role.
Right. Do we know who he's being replaced with yet? Is that
no, I don't think
official or through?
The team sheet's
any info, Dale, on who's replacing him?
I couldn't even get in the team meeting, mate.
Okay. Daisy, what did you take out of last night? You would have watched Geelong and Hawthorn?
I actually didn't see a minute of it.
You didn't see a minute? No. Is that because you couldn't, or your preferences to
not
watch?
I just don't like to. Especially when you're not playing, but you get a bit antsy and then you kind of think about what could be. So when we come up against, if we come up against one of those teams, I'll go through the tapes and that. But yeah, I didn't see any of that game.
Okay. For Solo in, by the way, Lee.
What about Daisy's going to shave the head, BT?
Yeah, what's that for, Richie?
He's had the long hair ever since he came into the game. How's the nut going to look without any hair on it, Daisy?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty rough, mate. Obviously, a chance to do something. Hopefully raise a bit of money for the Nick Foundation and the Make-A-Wish Portland branch. So hopefully all the Pies supporters can get onto the Collingwood website and donate and see me with a bit of a nude nut.
Dale, you're coming off last Friday night's game, like just in the post-review process, was it any different than a normal week? I mean, was it handled any differently?
It was just more about moving on. Usually there's quite an in-depth review process, and I think you look at a few points and then just say, look, boys, just one of those nights where things didn't go to plan, and you don't want to dwell on it too long and make the focus of the negatives, rather try and push forward, and finals footy's different than the last week's footy, so hopefully we can do that.
You mentioned finals footy's different. Why is it different? What's different about it from a player's point of view?
The intensity, and I think the last couple of rounds, it's easy for your mindset to wander, and I think last week the players' mindset, just watching, clearly had done that.
Yep. Can I ask you about Andrew Cracker and the year that he's had? You've been staggered with what he's been able to achieve coming from where he has so late in the piece?
I've been staggered with the things he's been able to do on the ground, but obviously training with him all pre-season and seeing the determination and the way he's gone about probably turning his life around, there was no doubt that he had that real fire in the belly to make something of his second chance, and when you see a bloke do that, it's a credit to himself, and the way he's been going about his footy for the team's been fantastic.
Did he surprise you with what he's been able to do? Is he a better player than you thought? Is that what you were sort of saying?
I saw a fair bit of the grand final he played in, so I knew he was a pretty handy player. And
what about my man, Leon? Now, Daisy, he's gone from being a forward All-Australian. Lee told me, no he didn't, but Lee said he's in the squad of 40 for the All-Australian. He'll be a defender. He'll be a deep, small defender for sure. If he's not, there'll be all hell to play. That's an amazing story, isn't it?
It certainly is, and probably Leon had missed last year. Missing that last grand final has probably given him that motivation to come out this year and take on the new role. He's obviously sat down with Mick and talked about where he was headed and where the footy club needed him, and they've come up with that role. And when you've got a bloke like him who reads the play so well, uses the footy so well, and if you give him any time and space, he'll just chop you up. So for him to go down there and play the way he has been fantastic again for the side.
Daisy, lots of murmurings in the last week about the form of Darren Jolly, particularly recently, but perhaps over the last 6 weeks. How have you seen him on the ground?
Well, Joel is one of those blokes who gives his all. So
his form. We're talking about his form, his output.
It's a tough one because he's, compared to some of the ruckmen out there, he is undersized, but around the ground he's really fantastic. He's probably only been the centre bounces where he's probably been struggling a little bit. But then, as I said before, as long as he's giving a contest and the mids can then get around him and try and get to where the ball will go.
And the knee, is that a problem?
His knee?
Yeah.
I don't think so, no.
Didax 200th today, Days?
Fantastic for Dids.
No kids, so you won't bring any kids on the ground or anything?
You'll find some.
I don't know if he's got any here. No, fantastic again. A bloke that's probably had his ups and downs along the way, and for him to get 200 games today and hopefully, no bigger stage MCG and hopefully turn it on will be fantastic.
What about yourself? How old are you?
24.
No girlfriend, boyfriend, marriage, anything going at the moment?
What's the boyfriends, mate?
Yeah.
No, I've got a long-term girlfriend.
Okay.
Yes.
That's all good. Not going to get married or anything?
Nothing that silly, mate, no.
Hey, Daisy, as an opposition player, tell me what you think of Nick Nat. We're all going to see him live today, Natanui. As a player, what's your view of him?
Yeah, he's one of those blokes you just love to watch because he can, probably go from not having a great impact on a game to really turning it on in the space of 5-10 minutes and really changing the course and momentum of a whole game. And the things that he can do, and for the size he is, I've chased after him a couple of times. He's really quick across the park, so he's one of those blokes that you kind of sit there at times and just gobsmacked at what he can do.
Yeah, they're sort of playing similar to you guys. You look at the stats and they're very, very similar. What do you got to do to beat them today? What's the number one thing?
Well, the number one thing would be kick more score than them. That'd be the obvious.
I wanted something a little bit more than that, Daisy.
No, the stoppages are going to be such an important part, and as you say, with their ruckman and the way they can dominate sides, it's going to be a massive task for our midfield group to try and nullify them, and then on the other hand get it and go forward from there. So if we can win the stoppages, I think that'll go a long way to winning the game.
Appreciate your time. Good luck when you come back.
Thanks, guys.
Dale Thomas joining us on 3AW Football.